Hello, beautiful podcast listeners. Welcome back to another success story. I have already given her such a stellar intro, that is for sure. But welcome, Caroline. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to dive in.
Me too. I'm so
Cannot
excited.
I cannot
happy
wait.
to be here.
It was quite the transformation, wasn't it?
It was in so many ways.
So many ways. And we talk about it still to this day. I still drop into your Instagram pretty much weekly, I think, at the moment. Like fully cheerleading, fully celebrating because of the shift that happened. And I know we're going to be talking all about it today. So I'm very excited to celebrate you and celebrate the business and our time together. But let's kind of take it back. Let's take it back to where it all began.
Yeah.
That one day where the sun was shining that bright in my eyes, I had to go and use the other computer.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, you did. You were on Jack's side.
I was on Jack's side of the office. But tell everyone, before we started working together, kind of what was your business like? How were you feeling about the strategies that you were using, your subconscious at the time, the results that were happening? Where were you?
Okay, so I have been a Pilates teacher for the last 20 years, and I have sort of spent the last kind of 6 years building an online membership. I've launched lots of courses, and I've been, like reasonably successful in that. It was working, but I felt like there was something in the way. I knew all the strategy.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite get to where I wanted to get to. And it was when I saw a friend that was working with you, and she said it about mindset, and it never occurred to me that mindset might be a thing. And so I reached out, and I think I listened to Pippa's podcast recently, but I think I was booked in with you fairly quickly.
Yes.
Didn't think that much about it. And I needed some sort of accountability, but I just needed somebody to kind of show me my blind spots. I think that was really what I felt like I needed at the time. What I ended up getting was entirely different, but that was kind of why I was you.
Yeah, I think subconsciously you knew what you wanted,
Yeah,
and I know we'll get into it. But like the end of, well, you started to 3 months, we upgraded to 6 months, which I'm so glad about, because the second half of our time together was where the kind of the bigger business pivot happened. But now, kind of reflecting back, I know you were obviously, like you said, kind of unaware of the blind spots. What was keeping you in those kind of like the old strategies and the hoping for results and kind of keeping you in that cycle? Now you look back from a subconscious point of view.
I think honestly it was fear. I think there was a lot of I was comfortable. I'd learned all the strategy, and I was, I'd done every course going and bought every book and listened to every podcast, and I was comfortable doing that stuff. But the things that I needed to do to really move me forwards were out of my comfort zone, and I just wasn't able to do them. And I think it was fear, and we can come back to kind of exactly what that looked like. But yeah, I think I needed permission. It's like I was thinking about this morning. I've always been one of those people. I'm quite a fast learner. Like, you don't need to show me things more than once.
No.
But I do need permission. And I remember when I was learning to drive, my driving instructor, I'd be like going at like 40 miles an hour in gear, like second gear, and he'd be like, you can go up through the gears. And I'd like, oh, can I? Okay. And once he told me I could, I would. And it's like I needed someone to go, okay, you know the stuff. Now you can do it. Like, you can go with it. And I didn't have that from myself or anybody else. So I felt like that was a big part of it, that sort of permission piece.
And building the confidence around that permission as well, wasn't it? Because once you got it, you moved, right?
Yes,
we did big moves. So let's kind of go into the fear, because we first started, your business looks very different now to when we started, didn't it? And you were speaking to a whole different niche, right? Like a whole different client. So we started to build that side of the business. What sort of things did you find the fear was stopping you from doing at that point in your business?
So in the first version of the business, it was stopping me from reaching out to people, asking for help, collaborating. I've got this kind of big fear around being indebted to people, and that was a big one that kept coming up for me. And and so I would never ask for that collaboration because I didn't want to feel like it was too one-sided or I wasn't giving enough back. And so there was always that fear
That
around
was a
not
huge one,
putting
wasn't it?
myself out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just putting myself out there, I'd happily do the daily Instagram posts, but I wouldn't reach out and speak to somebody about going on their podcast or being, speaking on their stage. I just never felt like I was allowed to do that. That was, I didn't really even know that that's what people did, but I wouldn't have done it anyway. I didn't feel like I had that permission. I needed the invite. I needed to be asked. So I think that was really standing in my way, that bit of permission and having the confidence to go out and go after what I wanted. And really, maybe it was partly because I do remember you saying something along the lines of, this is successful. I never felt like it was. I always felt like it was like a half-assed effort, like I hadn't done a good enough job. And you saying, actually, no, this is a business. You're doing really well. It's successful. It was like, okay, a bit of acknowledgement that I'd done okay to that point.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't really feel like I had. I always felt like there was so far to go. And I was looking at people that were so much further ahead of me and comparing. And that was keeping me stuck. That sort of, that gap between where I was and where I wanted to be was the problem, because I couldn't see the little stepping stones in the middle. I could just see the big, the big ravine.
Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. The climb.
Yeah. It's the climb.
Yeah.
So when we started to almost reverse engineer the climb of the mountain, I think things started to get a little bit clearer to you in the way that you wanted to go. And I think when you came to me, I remember having the conversation, and this was even, prior to us working together. You were like, there is something missing and I cannot put my finger on it. And I kind of don't know what it is, but I know I'm meant for more from a business perspective, from who you want to be, who you wanted to be coaching. There was such a big question mark over that, wasn't there? What do you think now, kind of reflecting back of it, what do you think was stopping you from actually seeing what then happened? And don't you worry, we'll let you know what happened in a minute. We're really skirting around like it's some sort of secret.
I knew that I wanted to change direction, but I didn't feel that I could. I can really remember our first session together when we went through a kind of business deep dive. And it became apparent really quickly that I wasn't looking to just kind of grow on what I was already doing, because very quick, it was almost like I wanted to say, Beck, I want an entirely new business, but I didn't feel. And looking back, I can't figure out why. It was like admitting it to someone else meant I had to admit it to myself.
Yes.
That all of this work I'd been doing actually wasn't going to end up being the final
where you were going,
where I was going.
Yeah.
So I can remember that first session together, and we were like, okay, we need to pull this apart, because actually this isn't the direction. And even at that point we knew that, but we still carried on for a bit on that direction, because I kind of wasn't quite ready to give up on it.
And I think it was your subconscious only brings up the things that you're ready to look at and the things that you're ready to work through. And I think we did kind of mold slightly into more where you wanted to be in the way of who you were attracting. It was a different, you were still teaching Pilates as the kind of business vehicle, and I think kind of that just helped you go, okay, there's a world out there that's kind of outside of where I currently am, and what would that look like and how would that be? So describe the moment that you realized that you wanted that massive pivot. And I think it was very small steps, wasn't it? But there was one session where you were like, all right.
Yeah, there was a day I can remember so clearly that I'd done a launch. So I was still running the Pilates membership, and I'd done a launch for the membership. And I think I'd welcomed in about 20 new.
Yeah, really good launch.
It was a good launch, but it still didn't kind of fill me with excitement. And it was just that moment where I was like, I've done such a lot of work for this, and I don't feel excited about the next stage of it, and doing this again and again and again. And there was a moment where I just thought, this isn't what I want to do. And I remember coming to you in the session and saying, I really want to work with experts who want to build businesses, want to build digital businesses. But I was so scared that it was like a like I was just following a kind of shiny object, like I was ditching what I'd spent all these years building, in favor of something, that I thought might be easier. I was so worried that I didn't that maybe it was the hard path that I was avoiding, and I was trying to take an easy route. And I remember sitting in the session with you, and you sort of, I can't actually remember what you did, but I remember you taking me through a process of how do we
Magic.
define, magic, it was magic. How do we define whether this was like the direction that I really wanted to go in, or was I just trying to find an easier option? Because that was my fear. Like, am I just taking the easy option and ditching, running for the hills, like. And you took me through this process, and we kind of realized at the end of it that actually not only was it not the easier option to ditch, actually I was going to be taking the harder option to pivot and change
carrying
direction.
on. Yeah.
But it was actually what I really wanted. Like, it was what I had been, like, my sort of secret in, like, I hadn't even really realized it myself. But again, it was your permission when you said, but I remember saying to you, I don't know that I'm qualified to teach people this. And you said, but you have a business that you've been running for 6 years that is what you're going to be teaching. You are way ahead of anyone you're going to be teaching. So why aren't you qualified? It's successful, okay? Just get on with it.
How many more times do I need to tell you?
And it was that moment of permission that I was like, right, okay, let's do it. I'm on it. And then it went, and then it just flew.
Oh, I've got goosebumps and I'm a bit teary because I remember that session so well, because I think it built up. And the reason why I wanted to really, really hone in on this bit of our work together, especially for people listening, is because there are so many people who are craving this massive pivot, small pivot in their business, but they're holding themselves back to the stories that they're telling. And I think your big story was, oh my God, I've worked so hard for the last 6 years, and if I give up on this, I've failed. Like, that was a big narrative, wasn't it?
Yes, the failure.
And then the narrative around, am I qualified enough to do this? You almost couldn't see that you'd had a very successful business, which is hence why I had to keep telling you. And I think there is so many people that stay unaligned in their business because your business was doing fine. Your business was doing great. You could have carried on doing that for another 3 years and still been okay. But actually, from that moment that we made the shift, and I know we'll talk about that today as well, but the way that you've sold, the way you show up, the way that you feel, the clients that you're working with, like who you are, like everything just exploded, didn't it? In the most beautiful way, to the point of, I remember having this conversation where you were like, Beck, like, why have I waited this long to do this? And that was the feeling, wasn't it, once we made the shift?
That was how it felt. Like, why have I held off on this for so long? But I couldn't have done it before. Like, the timing was perfect.
It was perfect. Yeah. Exactly.
That way.
What do you think shifted from a mindset perspective that allowed you to step into that version of yourself and allowed you to go, okay, this is the business that I want to be running?
There was a few things. There was the permission, which we've talked about, but there was also the moving away of that fear of failure. And I'm not really, like, I wouldn't say I'm the type of person that overthinks things. Like, I do just tend to jump in 2 feet and have a go. Like, I wouldn't have ever said I was that person that fears failure, but I definitely fear judgment, and I'm a bit of a people pleaser. So worry about, what are people going to think? Even my husband, I'm like, what's he going to think? Suddenly I'm not a Pilates teacher anymore. How does that work? Like, and so there was a definite kind of, who am I if I'm not that? I've been that for so many years.
This identity piece, wasn't it?
Identity, yeah. And I love wellness, and I love being that person. So I didn't want to step away from wellness either. That was the other thing. I don't want to not be that. So it was like, how do I bring those two worlds together, where I work with the wellness experts and still retain that myself? I still want to be that. So it was that fear of maybe giving up a bit of identity that I kind of got over by niching in the expertise of, the area of wellness and helping those people. Because I understand them, I get them, and I kind of know where they are. So it meant that kind of showing up as that person that could help them was easy, and it feels easy because it's who I am. It's me. I'm just talking about myself, really.
Yeah, a couple of years back.
Yeah,
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 literally.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think that kind of bringing your two worlds together, it's not that you had this huge pivot, like you didn't, you kept the same Instagram. Yes, we changed niche and ideal client completely, but like there wasn't much, you didn't go from selling socks to selling washing machines. Like it was quite
yeah,
contained into the message and the embodiment that you were getting across, and I think that really helped, didn't it, in the way that you got to keep all of that. You got to keep the
yeah,
bits that you loved from the old business,
yeah,
and actually now then go forth and kind of flourish this one that you have now. So we made the switch,
yeah,
we put things in place, and then you launched
yeah, yeah.
and you sold out.
That went well. Yeah, that went really well. Yeah, yeah. It was fast, wasn't it? I think
It
I
was
decided in
the
like,
fastest sellout of a launch I've ever
really
experienced.
fast. I
Yeah.
guess the thing was, I was so clear, like crystal clear on who it was I was after. So I think it was like mid-April that I made the decision, and by beginning of June, I sort of started launch. I'd already launched and sold a course, and it was because I was totally fearless about who I spoke to about. So bearing in mind I didn't have an audience of teachers really. So it was going after a new audience very, very fast. But I was talking to everybody. Like I
Yes.
was going back through my, diary of people I'd worked with or who had taught me 20 years ago. I was talking to my next door neighbor. Like my yoga teacher was one of my first clients. Like whereas before I'd always been quite low key about my work, and people would say, "Oh, how's work?" and I just kind of almost brush it off. Like I didn't want to say too much. Whereas now and then I was like, I'm just going to tell anybody and everybody, and someone will know someone. Because I was always being asked about it. People would always say, "Oh, can I pick your brains about
Yes.
building a business online?" Or can we grab a cuppa and I can just ask you a few questions? So when those people were asking me, and suddenly more people started asking me, it was weird. It's like
It
this
was a very
strange alignment
it was
happened at the
very aligned,
start.
wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Suddenly people, like I said about my yoga teacher, she asked me after class and I was like, well, actually, I'm
Yes.
considering building a course about this. Would you like to be one of the first people? And so I was literally telling everybody. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
within, I think it was about a 6-week turnaround, the course sold out. And,
Yeah.
and it was, yeah, it was incredible. And it was an incredible group of people to work with because I already knew them. So, or most of them, not all of them, but lots of them I already knew. So it felt very comfortable. I did it as a kind of founder launch so that I didn't feel under any particular pressure to make
Yes.
it perfect. It was
Yeah.
like come along, it's a slightly cheaper price, but you will get the best of me. I'll give you everything I've got. You can ask me as many questions as you want. And in return, I just really love you to succeed and give me a great testimonial. And
Yeah.
it worked brilliantly. So
Yeah.
that was the starting point.
It
Yeah.
was the absolute starting point. And I
Mm.
think it goes like kind of going back to what you were speaking about before, like prior to us making the shift and you making the shift in the business, you wouldn't reach out, you wouldn't want to, but it was almost that burden. I remember doing a lot of subconscious work around well, if I ask them this, I've got to give them this back, and this whole like swip and swap of, favors kind of thing, even when it wasn't a favor. And you messaged me in Voxer and you're like, yeah, I'm just having conversations with like 10 different people. And I was like, hang on, hang on a minute. This belief has definitely shifted. We've definitely moved out of this. And it was just that self-belief in that trust and self-belief, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And there was a lot of kind of, this has to work. I've just got to go
Yes.
after it, and I'm just going to give it everything I've got. And I really gave it everything I had. And I remember you saying to me, you're in. I think you described it as the push zone or something like
Yes.
that. Like we talked about that kind of climbing up the
Yeah.
mountain and pushing up
Pushing
the
the
hill.
snowball. Yeah.
And it felt like that. It really felt like that in my old business that I was always pushing. Whereas this felt like that, but it felt like like it was getting easier. Like
Momentum.
the more I pushed, the more momentum there was. Whereas in the previous iteration of my business, it always felt like I was pushing against something.
Just constant. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was the exercise that we did, how you were like, I can't remember what I did with you, but this is actually what I did. So we actually looked at when you felt aligned in your life, some point, whenever that was, and I got you to connect with that feeling, and then I got you to connect with something that you felt unaligned with, and then I got you to play out what the business would look like and how you would feel in that, and you were like, oh my god, yes, like that's the feeling I want.
Yeah.
And I think from that moment you you were able to take that feeling, and I felt such ease and lightness watching you, because I mean I watch all my clients like a Mike Wazowski, I'm watching you. I always send that gif, like I watch you all the time, because I'm obviously, looking what's going on, and then giving feedback or congratulating you or celebrating you. And I think the moment that you made that switch and you even went into that launch, very different to the launches that you'd done in the first iteration of your business, it felt so easy.
Yeah, it
And
did.
I think so many people want that feeling. Did you feel that? Because that's how I really
Yeah.
received it.
Yeah, it felt very easy and really fun and really exciting. And I felt like just complete alignment. And I still do. I still
Yes.
feel exactly this is exactly where I should be.
Good.
And it feels, and what's nice about that is that I still look at the gap. Of course, you always look ahead and think, oh, look at those people, they're doing amazing things. And instead of kind of feeling that sort of discontent around the gap and thinking, oh God, like what, how is that ever going to be possible? I don't feel that way anymore. Now I just feel like it's a when, right? It's happening, it's coming. It's just, I just don't quite know exactly when, but it will happen. It's coming.
Yeah. And that belief and the trust in that too.
I don't feel like there's this huge void between me and them anymore. It just feels like, okay, they're a bit ahead, but that's fine. Like,
and I'm on my way.
Yeah. Whereas I never felt that before. I never felt that. I never believed it. Whereas now I really do, like strong belief. And it's nice because, I think we all have those mornings where we wake up in our businesses and just think, oh my God, another day of like going after trying to find clients. And like, we all have that. But now I think after doing a lot of the mindset work with you, that feeling I don't feel like it sits on me anymore. It's just like, okay, it's 6 a.m. You're going to feel a bit rubbish. You'll feel all right in an hour. And inevitably I get to my desk or I work with a client and I love it.
Move through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's not the business that's the problem anymore. Sometimes it's just, a bad day.
Being a human.
Yeah, being human.
Okay, we all get to be human.
Yeah. Whereas those days before would really sort of not get me down, because I'm not particularly, I'm not really a dwell person, but, it would be much more regular and I wouldn't ever really be able to see where it was going. The idea of like, I'd always thought, I'd love to write a book, but I thought, that's never going to happen. And I'd love to go on that wellness stage, or that's never going to happen. Whereas now I think, well, if I want it to, I'll just set the goal.
I will make it.
Yeah.
I love that. What would you say are some of the biggest wins you've had since in your business with your mindset since we've worked together? I know there's been a lot since then.
Yeah.
The ripples.
So big wins. There's been obviously my first course was a sellout, and I've launched that 3 times since, and they've all been sellouts, and it's now evergreen, and I deliver like a live element to it, and it's really popular. I've got a launch this week, which I'm feeling really confident about, and it doesn't feel like I'm selling. I just feel like I'm just telling people about it, because they don't know, and as soon as they know, they'll want to come in, so it's fine. It doesn't feel like selling.
So good.
I've worked with I can't think how many, but lots of one-to-ones now. Like,
that was another big piece that we did, kind of building that house.
And I really loved that. I've got really clear boundaries over when I'm working and when I'm not, and how that works. I've had some of my biggest selling months like ever, and actually December was my biggest month ever on record. And I'm from the world of wellness. Normally December is a complete dud. So it was so nice to go through Christmas and not feel this like, oh my God, how am I going to
not feel like, oh God, everyone's gone off to eat mince pies and no one cares about what they look like.
I was amazed. I think it was like the 12th of December I did a launch, or I did a collaboration with another teacher who teaches teachers, and it was incredible. It worked really brilliantly. She got out of it what she wanted. I got out of it what I wanted. It was a lovely joining of kind of audiences. So yeah, that worked really brilliantly. So it's just been like everything that's happened so far has gone really well.
Yeah.
And so it almost feels like I need to like the next goals. I've got quite clear on this sort of next year and what that looks like. But it's just now it's just all about growing it and going after the bigger.
Playing even bigger. And I think we spoke about that, didn't we? Like that seeing, I think just as our time was coming to kind of the end of, well, I went on maternity leave annoyingly, and then I really cried because everyone had to leave. But just as our time was coming together,
you needed to kick us out.
Everyone would have been like, I'm going nowhere. But I think like that kind of the snowball hit the top of the mountain. It's rolled and rolled and rolled, and you've picked up so much momentum, which is amazing. And kind of the fact that you can hold all of that the success, and then go, right, let's play even bigger. I just love that. I absolutely love that. And I always remember you saying it's about this like quiet confidence that I had in you. I know that was a big conversation that we had, and I know that kind of comes hand in hand with the permission, but I just always remember you saying that it's just like this very quiet confidence that I had in you that allowed you to step into that. Do you mind talking into that?
I know. I think that's a big thing, and it does set into the permission piece. I think I have a need for external validation, and I think like I need to know, I guess that's like a love language, isn't it? I need to know that other people think it's okay too.
And
other people think it's good. And that goes back to, all sorts of different reasons.
We did work on that.
We did work. We definitely did work on it. I mean, I definitely think there's always more to do on that for me. Because I sit into that people pleasing category. And so there is always work to do on that. But the confidence that you had gave me confidence, and again, it gave me permission, but it gave me bravery. Like I was suddenly able to go, okay, I can be the person that she thinks I am, because it's almost like you just dress up. And I hate the phrase "fake it till you make it," because that's not it. It's like you put on an outfit and it just makes you stand a bit taller.
Just like so shifts your state, isn't it?
I try your confidence on for size, and it and you sort of see if it fits, and that felt nice to have that person in your corner telling you that it's okay, that this is good, you're doing a good thing, it's working, it's going in the right direction. And I think that was a big part of it, being able to wear your confidence whilst I find my own.
I love that.
And that was huge. That really was huge. And I still feel that, and I still feel that even now. So I love that. And like you say, you're not lying when you say you are in the DMs. And
I'm loving it.
I'm like, anything that happens, and I put it on Instagram, and Beck's in there like, well done, yay! So that's really amazing, and I love that. And I've taken exactly that into my relationship with my clients, because I just think that was such a big part of our relationship, that kind of cheerleading, and so I've really tried to bring that into my work as well, because I think that's been massive for me.
I love that. If someone was in the position that you were in prior to us working together and they were thinking about it, what would you say to them?
Oh, well, I think it's a no-brainer, really. I do think, well, obviously work with Beck. I think I would always say, absolutely, get coaching with Beck. I think when we finished working together, I found it really hard to pinpoint the mindset stuff. Like, what was it and I still find that now. And yet what I do notice is less about how it happened, and what I notice is the outcome of what happened. Like I can't really figure out what you did exactly. Like I can see it in myself. Like I'll get a moment of doubt, and I quickly shift out of it. And there was one thing that you did that was absolutely like mind blowing to me. Like you sent me one of your meditations, or can't think what you call them, but one of your voice notes. And it said about a colour. You'd asked me to choose a colour. And you'd said in this thing, every time you feel a sense of doubt, find the colour in the room. And for me, I think it was yellow at the time, bright yellow. And at that point, I was launching. And honestly, every 15 minutes, I was wanting to throw it all away and doubting it, and, wanted to shut down the computer and run away from it. And so I kept finding that colour, and it was brilliant because it was so simple, but it just distracted me. So I'd be thinking, oh God, this is rubbish. And then I'd think, right, yellow, yellow, yellow. And I'd
I'm yellow.
and by the time I'd found it, it was okay again. And I've taken that into everything. Like when I'm in the gym and I've got to do a certain amount of reps, I'm, after 45 seconds, I'm like, where's the yellow?
I'm the yellow.
So it's like things like that were like absolutely like simple, but transformational. And I, like I said, I don't know the rest of the stuff. I don't really know what the magic was, but I notice it all the time, like changes in my mindset and my belief that's just completely shifted the game for me. So what would I say? I mean, God, I would say do whatever you need to do to work with Beck. Make it happen.
Make it happen. And I think that's the powerful thing with the mindset. I think before I ever do any of these interviews, I go back on what you put in the hypnosis tracks when we were like way back in the day, or what you first put in your pre-session questionnaires. And I kind of go back and I'm like, wow, like you were thinking that at that time, and it seems mind-blowing now that those were even your thoughts, because you're that far from those, you're like so far from having those kind of limiting beliefs anymore. And I think because we do the work kind of in session, but I think Voxer was really helpful for you to kind of chat through in the moment as well. It happens so subconsciously that did happen for you. It just kind of naturally became your reality. And I think that's what I love the most about the work, is that it wasn't like, well, on session 3 we got rid of this, and on session 5 we did that. It just was a collection of magic that allowed you to go and do the things, like put the podcast out and do the launch and completely shift the business, and know that no one was judging you. In fact, look at what's happened from it. And I think that was just I saw that so much in you and our time together, because you were already very confident, you were already showing up, you were already doing all the things. It wasn't aligned. And to see that shift and to watch you now, like that's why I celebrate you so much in the DMs. Some like in December I was like, I can't message her again, because it's like it was only yesterday that I messaged her. Do you know what I mean? But really, like, it was just so powerful to see what happens when you believe in yourself. And I truly think that was the crux of our time together.
I do think that was it, because I think I'm not overly interested in the kind of I suppose the wooey side of this and mindset, and yet so things like our timeline therapy sessions, like they were never my favorite. They weren't the ones I looked forward to. I'd far rather talk strategy, but they were the ones really that had the impact. It was almost like I was doing the things that I needed to do rather than things I wanted to do. So I was out of my comfort zone entirely. And doing the hypnosis and but also I guess the other thing is just, you've just got to throw yourself in, haven't you? Like if you're going to invest in working with Beck, you've got to just all in, be coachable. And I always say that, like, that's one thing I will be is coachable. I'll do what you tell me to do. Just tell me to do it and how to do it, and I'll do it. And that really worked when we worked together, because I was able to just ask you, tell me what's next, and you could give me that sort of support. So it was brilliant. Loved it.
Absolutely. If you could sum it, you want to come back.
I'm coming back.
If you could sum up our time together in one word, what would it be?
Okay, so I have thought about this, and my obvious word is transformational, but I think that's too simple. I think the big change is, for me, was bravery. It was borrowing your confidence, borrowing your bravery, and seeing how you run your business. And I think that's part of it, is modeling the person that you are working with, and seeing how effortless you made it look and how enjoyable. I think when we were working together, you launched from New York, and you were doing all these incredible things. And I think there was a bit of you kind of made it so that was possible for me. Like you made me go, okay, this is that, maybe I can do it that way. I can make it easy. And so you gave me the bravery to have a go and try, and it's really worked. It really has. So definitely bravery. You made me brave.
I love that. Oh gosh, it was such a good time. I cannot wait to do it again.
I know, matter of time.
But let's segue onto you, because we've talked about the business shift and all of the bits, and we've kind of been a bit cryptical with it
Yeah.
as we went. But let's dive into what you do, who you help, and what the kind of vision for the business is moving forwards.
So I am, as I said, I'm a Pilates teacher of 20 years, and I've spent about 10 years, well, no less than that, 6 years building a digital version of my business. So now I work with wellness experts to do the same. So the people I work with are usually women, but not always women. And they tend to be, they're in wellness in some format. So they might be teachers, coaches, experts. I work with a lot of Pilates teachers because like attracts like, I guess.
Yeah.
And I help them to identify what they would like a digital offering to look like, if it's possible for them and their business. Usually they are quite ambitious women. They often come from a corporate background, so they might have had the kind of A-type perfectionist personalities. So they are nervous of doing this on their own because they want it to be perfect. So they usually come to me for that bit of support. I run a digital program called the Digital Course Creator, where we identify their course topic. We take them through the beta founder launch, so they get something up and running and out to their audience. And the whole idea behind it is that in wellness, anyone listening to this in wellness will know you are restricted by time and money.
Yeah,
you cannot scale. And I tried it all. I had studios, I've employed teachers, I've done it all to try and scale. And you are always capped, whether you believe it or not. You are always capped by how many people you can work with in a week, and that always frustrated me. So, and also, I'm 44, and I wanted something that gave me a bit more freedom. I didn't always want to be trading my time for money. I wanted something where I could earn money from the beach.
Yeah.
That was really part of it. I have a plan. My kids are growing up. I want to be able to live abroad, work abroad. So there was like a destination that I wanted to get to that I couldn't get to by teaching. So that was the whole crux of trying to do it myself. And now, because I love that world, I now help other people do the same. So they can do it via the course, or they can do it with me one-to-one.
So good. So good. And I think that's the whole aspect of the kind of frustration behind that industry, isn't it? Is that they're so passionate. I mean, I used to be a yoga teacher, so I know, and a personal trainer, so I kind of know the feeling of that. You are capped, when I taught Zumba, you could have 30 people in the room, but you'd have to do it 100 times to earn the amount that you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And evenings and weekends, and you're kind of capped to when the people can come, right?
Yeah, it's antisocial hours, and you'll find people in wellness go into wellness because they really want to help people. So usually they've discovered some kind of transformational thing themselves, and they want to teach that to people. So they will do whatever it takes to fit someone in, midday on a Saturday, even when they've got their own family at home waiting for them. Like, they will do whatever it takes. And I think what I love about having a digital product isn't that you need to give that up, because I still teach, and I don't ever intend to stop teaching, but I now choose my favorite clients, and I teach at the times that suit me. I do one evening and one morning, and one morning in a studio, and I work with my absolute dreamy favorite clients that I can help the most, who will be with me forever. These are like kind of long term,
do or die.
So I think it's about being able to choose. And I think that's what you lose when you're in wellness, is that you sacrifice your own life and your own wellness for the benefit of others. And although it's very worthy, it's not always the best for our own wellness. The irony is huge. So I think having a digital product is a really great way of supplementing that. And also, there is a desire often with wellness experts to have a bit more impact, not just on the people they work with, but in the industry. There's so many experts that have been working in this for years. They really know their stuff. They're experts at what they do, but they are in a village hall in a small town, every Saturday morning. And that's as far as their impact goes. And those people should be out there. There are so many people out there doing a worse job than them, but with bigger followings,
bigger audience.
Want to get some decent experts out there who know what they're talking about, and they're out there. They just need the push that I had. So
I love that drive, that value of the business. It's amazing. And I think that's the sort of person that you're really attracting, isn't it? Is the people who want bigger than the village hall. Not that there's anything wrong with the village hall, but like bigger than, and put their stamp on it. How do you get to how do you get in their brains to understand what the digital product then becomes?
So we look at a few things. So obviously there's an element of niching, but really once you've discovered or decided on the kind of the type of person you want to work with, what the problem you want to solve is, we then look at three important things. So the first one is the problem that they can solve, and is it a problem that needs solving?
Yep.
Because often experts create something in their head and then they go out there and realize no one wants it. So
Yes.
making sure that problem is validated. And then there's the pricing issue. So it has to be something that people will pay for. So there has to be a difference between what you're offering and what's available on YouTube. So we have to make sure that that's viable. And then finally, it has to be a passion. Because as I know, it's very easy to create a business that in 5 years' time, you won't be in love with anymore. So making sure that you come at it from the perspective of, what do I really love doing? And how can, because you can love what you do, you really can have passion about the people you work with and the people you help. So it's making sure those three things are in alignment, that you can make money from it, that it solves a problem, and that you enjoy it. And that's how we kind of find the sweet spot of what they're going to sell.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
it works
I
really,
bet
really
I
well.
bet they like I bet they come in and they're like, what is this world?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. And what I usually find is it takes about 3 or 4 weeks of working with
Mm,
someone initially for them to kind of get their heads around. They get scrambled first, and then it comes through. We follow the threads, and I think that's why it's useful to work with somebody, because you can get stuck in niching and you can
yes.
spend years trying to find a niche. I know I've worked with people now that have been trying to do this for sort of 10 years and they just haven't sort of settled on a niche. So it's about making a decision. It's about kind of, will I be disappointed if I don't do it? That can kind of
Yep.
help to make that final decision.
Yep.
And that's certainly what it was like for me. And following the thread of, when those three things come together, what does that look like? And what could that be? And then again, it's about giving people that confidence, because wellness experts notoriously undercharge. So
Yes.
it's giving people that confidence to build something that is worth something to their clients and to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really fun, and just work with such great people.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I can just see the passion in your face and the love that you have for it. It makes me so happy, and even more happier that you took the leap and shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, best move I've ever made in my
I
business.
think so.
100%. Yeah.
I think so. So where can people find you? Where can people follow?
So I'm at Caroline Copp everywhere. So website is
Nice and easy.
carolinecop.co.uk, and Instagram is at Caroline Copp, and
Perfect.
COPP. Yeah.
There
So
you go. I'll pop
easy
it
to
in the show
find.
notes anyway, but go and say hello. And if you are listening and you're a wellness expert that doesn't currently have a digital business, I fully recommend.
Thank
Fully
you.
recommend.
On my way. Come in.
Come in. Thank you so much. I have loved today. I think more than anything, I just love reflecting back on the magic that happened. I think more so than
Yeah,
anything.
it's really nice to have a look back and reminisce.
And where you are now. So I know it's only on the way up and there's more things to celebrate. So I'm very, very excited for you this year. And thank you for letting us in to your experience of our time together.
Amazing. Thank you for having me. I'm
My
honoured to
pleasure.
be
My pleasure. I'll see everyone in the next episode. I love you all. Bye.
here.